I think we've got a quorum. Is that right? Okay, let's go ahead and call the special meeting of the Waco MPO Policy Board of April 29th, 2024 to order at 8:30. MPO staff, has this meeting been posted?
Yes.
And I don't believe at this moment there's any councils to be called into session. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the MPO Policy Board on any agenda item. Please complete a speaker's registration card with MPO staff. Speakers will be allotted one presentation at the beginning of the agenda for each agenda item the speaker wishes to address. Please note that each action item will have a separate public hearing later in the agenda. Speakers have the option of addressing the board at either time, but you'll only be allowed one opportunity to address the board per agenda item. Is there anyone here who would like to speak, or do we have any registered speakers? Okay. I wanted to say that MPO staff has assured us there would be coffee and breakfast tacos. They have delivered on coffee and water. Breakfast tacos are in transit, should be here by at least by conclusion of the meeting, so you could at least take one to go. But we're just tied up. I think the place we went to is a popular place, and so it's in process. All right, we will move on to consideration and action regarding approval of resolution 2024-6, adoption of a Vision Zero goal for Waco MPO planning area of McLennan County, Texas. Dr. Kumar.
Thank you. So there are two items that are a little bit new, but we have discussed them in different various forms of the policy board meeting before. There are two resolutions in front of you, why we call this meeting. One is the resolution to commit the MPO to Vision Zero goal. By 2050, our expectation is that we are going to do everything we can to reduce the fatality in McLennan County down to zero. That's very consistent with TxDOT goals for Road to Zero goal for 2050. Throughout Texas, the expectation is that fatality should be down to zero. And we want to not only stay consistent, but through this comprehensive safety action plan, we actually have some very concrete steps that we are taking forward in order to move in that direction. And so the first resolution in front of you is simply a resolution committing the MPO to the goal of Vision Zero by 2050. And so the basic idea behind all of this is that there is no reason why we should take fatality or serious injuries as part of the daily affair. It's not. In fact, there are many parts of the world, and in fact, even in the United States, there are several cities that have succeeded in eliminating fatalities and serious injury to zero already. So it is not something too ambitious. It is something very doable, and there are several different strategies that we can take, not only in terms of improving our roadways, but also in better signage, better public education, better public outreach, better design engineering of our roadway itself. And simultaneously, the idea is that we also want to consider it holistically, so that even when there are accidents, that we have our emergency vehicles and the hospitals prepared so that we can save lives. Because we know that in many of these accidents, even 2-3 minute differences, make 2-3 minute delay makes a huge amount of difference. And so what we want to do is think about it holistically. Federal High Administration already has a safety toolbox, and we're using that toolbox and applying it in the comprehensive safety action plan so that we can define projects accordingly. And so the very first one is that we recognize that people do make mistakes sometimes. We're not expecting everybody to never make mistakes. We also focus on the responsibility that we all have, not only the drivers, but all of us who are engaged in the transportation system, so that we can minimize the harm. And the U.S. Department of Transportation has already made a commitment, so has TxDOT, to reduce the fatality to zero by 2050. And this resolution will adopt a goal of reaching zero death and serious injury when roadway crashes happen across the planning area, which is McLennan County. So in front of you, this is what we are requesting you to do, to commit the MPO to the goal of Vision Zero by 2050.
Questions for Dr. Kumar?
I have any questions, but it's a good plan. I think when I first got on MPO, they actually had a vision of the vision that's like 5%. So we were always kind of encouraging 5% deaths or something like that, which didn't quite seem right. So the Vision Zero was a much better goal. So yes. Yeah, it's always.
All right, let me open the public hearing at 8:34. Do we have any registered speakers or anyone else who would like to comment from the public?
No.
If not, we will close the hearing at that same time. Any other discussion before we move forward on a vote? All right, do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Move for approval. Second.
All right, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Holmes, a second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously, and we will move on to item number 4, consideration and action regarding approval of resolution 2024-7, adoption of a Waco MPO comprehensive safety action plan. Dr. Kumar.
Councilman Woodrude, I think you may have a city council quorum now. 3.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let me call the Waco City Council into session here, and we will try to behave in a way that's consistent with our history and fine legacy. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is really the most important motivation why we called for this special meeting. SS4A, Safe Street for All program, allocated over $5 billion over 5 years for all the governmental entities to engage in safety-related projects. Some of them were planning projects, a lot of them were implementation projects. From the MPO in 2022, we applied for one of the early planning grants. We received it, and there was $560,000 of federal money, and also we used portions of the local fund to cover the remaining $140,000 in the local match in that. And with that, what we created a safety action task force, and several of you here, you serve on the safety action task force. We have monthly meeting, and this includes all the ISDs as well. In fact, this is the first time we have all the ISDs in the area fully engaged with us in the planning process of transportation assets. And we have been meeting with all the cities. We had 2 series of sets of meetings. The first set of meeting was to explore all the different projects in which our consultants, TJKM, they gave them opinion on what some of the problem areas might be. And we also engaged with the ISD as well as cities to come up with their own challenges, and so that we can identify all the projects and figure out what needs to be done. Fortunately, the consultants have been able to pull this off fairly as a really super fast time, and the staff at the MPO has been working diligently to get it done as soon as possible, but with a major motivation that we want to make sure that we have at least 3 more years of eligibility for implementation programs left for all the cities. Had we not met the deadline, if we don't meet the deadline of April 30th, which is tomorrow, then this year of funding will not be available for implementation grants. So we wanted to make sure that we hurry up and get it done as quickly as possible. Now, this is not completely done, meaning that consultants will continue to work, especially on the rural parts of McLennan County. But we have been able to accomplish all the 6 cities that are represented on the policy board, as well as overall McLennan County in this document that you have in front of us. And so we're calling it's a concise version of CSAP that we are requesting you to adopt today. And the extended version, which will include whatever is left in between, we'll bring it back at the June meeting so that we can amend the current plan at that point in time. So this is what it is going to look like. And so this is simply the title. We had input from cities, county, TxDOT, and all the stakeholders. It includes all the crash analysis, the safety analysis, proposed projects, countermeasures, and in order to make sure that the implementation grant proposals are ready. In several cities, we have been able to identify several high priority projects, and to the best of our knowledge, there are at least 4 cities that are preparing implementation grant proposal as we speak right now. And so based on this, they would all automatically become eligible to apply. This is what it is going to look like. So each city has a chapter page that analyzes all of the analysis. This is just 1 page of the analysis. We typically have roughly about 6 or 7 pages, and it analyzes everything from the street light inventory, whether the street light has made the difference, the weather-related events. Also, it analyzes, what kind of problems areas have been. And so, for instance, we try to figure out whether alcohol, drugs were involved. We try to figure out if there have been hit objects. And it turns out that in McLennan County, we do have quite a bit of it from hit objects that essentially tells us that these are not 2 vehicle collisions, these are single vehicle collisions, and we have quite a bit of it. Rural parts have more of it, and urban areas have more of the collisions among 2 or more vehicles. And then this is how we identify the projects, and within the project, for each of the project area, we again analyze the crash statistics. And based on what the trend analysis is, we come up with existing condition and estimated cost of improvement for each of these project areas. And based on these, we come up with the scope of the project, and that's the project that the cities are applying for implementation. And so this is just sample of what each of the city has a page, but we also have a complete analysis of the entire McLennan County with a dashboard with the maps and such. And so it's a pretty even though we try to complete this entire project in record time, roughly about less than 5 months, actually. Most of the MPOs that received the grant at the same time and opened up, they are not even halfway through, but we are really proud to present to you for your adoption today so that we can open it up for implementation. Say again? Yes, we have printed copies, and so we are happy to bring it to you. The most important part is that the resolution that you make today, the first resolution that you just voted on, and this resolution to adopt this CSAP, they will both become part of the plan itself with the exact date. And that way, this resolution can officially can be treated by USDOT as officially adopted comprehensive safety action plan that makes every city eligible to apply for implementation.
And by doing that, we're opening up our opportunity for funds that we wouldn't if we adopted this 2 days from now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so
This
we
year.
have this year, for this year.
Yes.
So we thank you for your attention to that.
Yeah.
So we didn't lose those funds.
So basically, there was an implementation grant, a planning grant, and this is the culmination or near culmination of that effort. And it tees up all the members to be able to pursue implementation grants. And by us adopting it, the federal government recognizes that we've gone through the steps.
Yes.
So it gives a lot of credence to those applications because there's already been a formal planning. So what if implementation grants are not awarded for some of these projects? Is there a plan for these to go into the MTP or other programs? Because there's been a lot of effort, it sounds like, to identify.
Yes, and so what we are expecting is that some of these projects will also be eligible for EDSIP grant. They will also be eligible for TA projects. And so we are expecting that this will not be just the SS4A grant, but several other grants also. So it's just that we didn't want to skip on the, so EDSIP and those deadlines are not bearing on us right now. But the SS4A, so for this year's implementation, total amount of funds available is actually almost $1.2 billion for the whole country. And so that's a significant amount of resources being made available, and we really didn't want to ignore that. So
Appreciate that effort. But the projects identified in this work can be eligible for other grants besides
yes, absolutely.
this implementation grant site.
And in fact, in some cases, some of the projects that are included were in fact submitted for EDSIP grant. We are aware, and they were not funded. They're included. They will, if we get the funding through SS4A, that'll be fantastic. If we don't, then we will pursue other opportunities as well.
Any other questions or discussion before we open the public hearing?
My last question, do you have a feel for how many total projects were identified?
We didn't count the total, but I would say it's roughly about 45 to 50, somewhere close to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate the good work of staff and getting this to us in time for.
Yeah, I must especially thank where Nora, Annette, and Arthur stayed up at night to review the documents so that we can, in fact, move it forward, give the comments to the consultants, and consultants also pulled through. So we are very appreciative of the consultants also putting together a much larger team than they anticipated to get this all done so fast.
We will go ahead and open the public hearing at 8:43. Do we have any registered speakers?
No.
Mark? No. And is anyone here who would like to speak on it from the public? If not, we will close the public hearing at the same time. Any other discussion or questions before we move for a vote? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this resolution, the concise version as outlined by staff here?
Second.
By Councilmember Bearfield and second here. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously, and now we will just move on to some staff announcements.
At this point, at this meeting, we do not have any particular announcement that can't wait for the next policy board meeting. The only important announcement, only important thing, since we have your attention and burrito is still on the way, we would like to remind that we have scheduled the MTP call for proposal discussion with every city. The only city of Belmead had already had a meeting in which we discussed several of the projects, but we have these meetings. The important part I want to mention is that in that meeting, we do not have to necessarily consider the projects that are eligible, not eligible immediately. The whole point of that meeting is to discuss all possible projects from the whole universe of projects that we can discuss. And Victor has rearranged his calendar entirely to bring his entire team to that meeting also, so that we can go ahead and have a very serious in-depth discussion of the kind of project that we would like to see in the MTP, because each MTP sort of ends up setting the region on a particular path. And in that sense, MTP projects, it may look like we're only trying to make some decision on the project, but MTP really is the vehicle that drives what the regional transportation future is going to look like. The project discussion in that sense, they need to comply with not only the way we have decided on the call for proposal, but most importantly, we want to deliver the best project possible. And the only way that can happen is if we deliberate in depth. And so in that meeting, please direct your staff to make sure that they don't have to feel shy about which projects will qualify, which won't qualify right now. We can make that decision after the discussion that we have in that meeting. And so all of the meetings are scheduled between today. So there's one meeting today, and we have several meetings this week, and then we have a few meetings next week.
All right, our next regularly scheduled MPO Policy Board meeting is going to be Thursday, May 16th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m., probably at the South Waco Community Center. It's our traditional home. Does anyone have an agenda item they'd like considered for that meeting or any other future meeting? All right, hearing none, it will do the hearing of visitors. At this time, we provide an opportunity for the public to address the MPO Policy Board on any item of MPO business not identified on this agenda. Do we have anyone here who would like to speak, or do we have any registered speakers for that? No. Okay, we will open and close the hearing of visitors at 8:47 p.m. and we will, without further business, we will adjourn this MPO Policy Board meeting and the Waco City Council meeting at 8:47 a.m. We appreciate all y'all being here. We are told that tacos are in transit if you would like to linger and talk some informal regional business on the side, but glad to have y'all here. Thanks for making this happen. We really appreciate it. All right, we are adjourned. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Will, thanks for being here. Good luck.
We have one?
I'm sure they started.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Right now, today anyway, today.
One day at a time.
Tomorrow will be different.
One day at a time.
That's brand new. All you hope for, I guess. They're really good.
Thanks so much.
$10 worth of stuff.
Part of the job.
Take a minute.
Yep.
Someone says, you look tired. I live. One guy quit.
Do you need to be here? Okay, you're.
That I
Become a city manager.
Kamara, you want to stop
Well, that's not true.
streaming?
I was meeting him when they know. In process. Hi, good. Always nice. Welcome aboard.
Great. One of the comments that
An email says.
it's this much money.
Oh, I get it.
And